Julia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So before we dive into the assessments that you took, I first want to go over a few things. And the first is that these results and scores don't have to be anything more necessarily than just words on paper if they don't seem to sit right with you. And what I mean by that is just because we might be able to form an opinion or a suggestion based on what the results might indicate, it's not my intention to promote these as facts, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, like these assessments, as you probably know, are useful, but, they're not always definitive. They're not definitive of who we are, and sometimes they're not always even correct. For example, just because someone might take an assessment and their results indicate higher levels of extroversion, this doesn't usually mean that they're an extrovert. So if there's anything that you disagree with, anything that doesn't really sound right to you, please let me know.
Okay.
And sorry about that. And then the other thing is that I know today's session is just our usual hour length, but if there's a chance that we need any more time to answer any questions you might have or just to continue this discussion, I don't want you to feel like I just left you hanging. So there's no time limit. We can take as long as you need to feel comfortable. And the last thing I want to mention is, you identify as a multiracial lesbian with American, Filipino, and African American cultural backgrounds, right?
Mhm.
And you mentioned how these unique backgrounds are so important to you, and they're a part of obviously what makes you who you are. I, on the other hand, I'm a white American heterosexual, and I know that because I identify as such, I benefit from certain unearned privileges compared to others, such as those of multiracial and sexual minority groups. So if you ever feel like I'm having difficulty understanding where you're coming from, or if for any reason at all, I'm not as aware of my unintentional biases as I think I am or as I would hope to be, then I'm more than happy to bring in one of my supervisors who has a more diverse background to help me understand better. So I won't be offended at all.
All right.
Right. All right. And so lastly, this conversation is being recorded. This is just because I am working with a student at Southern New Hampshire University. Just want to make sure that this is okay. No one will have access to these recordings unless you would like them to.
All right.
All right. So when we're looking through this information from your assessments, we're trying to collect together pieces of a puzzle almost to better understand what's causing you to stress and then where we can start to help you feel better. So even though we might not understand everything today, or we might not find all of the answers today, hopefully we can get you to a point at the end of this session where you feel like you have some direction or a sense of clarity.
All right.
Okay. So you're still okay with us going forward and reviewing this information together? You feel comfortable?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So you've already mentioned that the areas of concern that you most feel that have led you here are that you just don't feel like yourself, right?
Yes.
And understandably, this is causing you substantial pain. And you consider that your levels of depression and anxiety feel next to severe. Is that, I think that's right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the assessments do indicate this as well. So you are spot on. A moderately severe presence of depression and anxiety was indicated, but it's also quite possible that these symptoms can be tied to some of your other disturbances that you're feeling. I know you mentioned lack of sleep, loss in appetite, decrease in motivation and energy, difficulty making new friendships. This will seem accurate to you?
Yes.
I sometimes feel as if like our body kind of eavesdrops on our mind, and I think that it's only natural for us to go into these different kind of states of survival mode, especially when we don't feel 100% safe or secure. And you deserve to feel 100% safe and secure all the time. And you mentioned how sometimes you feel as if someone is out to get you, or that Juanita will be catching you kind of staring off into space. And I think it's possible that your stress and your anxiety and your depression are affecting areas of your life in ways that they never have before. And you would say that your ambition with work and your occupational performances are different than they used to be. You're having more trouble with those, right? And I can only imagine how frustrating that might feel, especially since that's not who you are. I mean, you know who you are at your best. You've achieved your master's, right?
Yeah.
You've achieved your license in professional counseling. So you already know what it takes to succeed because you've done that in so many ways. I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn off that chime. My computer just died. You mentioned that you were diagnosed with dyslexia, and this clearly also hasn't stopped you from achieving your goals or your academic performance in your career. So I think it's interesting for us to consider how the assessment also indicated a significant potential for obsessive compulsive disorder. Does this come as a little bit of a surprise?
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you, and we can work through this and learn as much as we can together. I don't want this to be something that you think of as a bad thing at all. It's just often associated with higher levels of anxiety and constant repetition of thought that you are describing. So I think it might be interesting just to see what we can and see a little bit more, dive into those a little bit more as we work through this. On the other hand, the assessments agree with many things that I could have already said myself. You know, you're clearly very bright, you're open to new ideas and experiences, you're agreeable. People go to you for help. You made a whole career out of helping others. You know, you're very open-minded to try new things. And candidly, I think that those are the clearest indicators that you are so capable of persevering until you feel better and until you feel more whole and safe. So as we start getting back on track of what feels better for you, I think it would be most helpful for me to first hear all about what makes Amelia Amelia. And I'm just so curious as to what exactly your multicultural identities mean to you. And I know this might take some time, but I just kind of want to explore these areas extensively and then keep going back and referring to it as we work through what the assessments indicate, because I think that there's a strong possibility that learning more about your past and your background and who you are will shed light on how we can use your identity to regain some of that strength that you have within you and to make you feel better. Okay. So we're coming up on the end of our session. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Do you feel like we covered everything? Are there any questions that you have?
Nope, there are no questions. I think we covered everything.
All right, awesome. Well, Amelia, thank you so much. Reach out to me if you need anything. And other than that, I will see you in our next session.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now